Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurum Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam. Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha. Shri Rupam Sagajatam Sahagana Raghunatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sagana Lalita Shakavitam Scha. Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Bhivacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine. Namaste Saraswate Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschata Deshatarine. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadara Shivasari Gauda Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, everyone. So, welcome to our continued study of Nectar of Devotion. So today we'll be studying the introduction. And so last week we discussed in the preface, the Srila Prabhupada presented the title of the preface, and he said that bhakti means devotional service. It is service that is an expression of our devotion or an expression of our love. And so bhakti means we show our love to Krishna through service. And rasa is the sweetness one tastes in a relationship. This is the mellow, the sweet experience one has in any relationship. And we discussed bhakti rasa versus mundane rasa. Bhakti rasa being eternal and unlimited, whereas mundane rasa, all the engagements in the material world, is very limited, flickering happiness and temporary. And this nectar of bhakti is eternal, and it is ever increasing. And it is unlimited ocean, not just a few drops of water, yet an ocean of nectar. So this, when one performs devotional service, the sweetness, the pleasure one reaches is an unlimited eternal ocean. So we can kind of put it all together and say the pleasure from devotional service is everlasting and unlimited like an ocean. And this is the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. So this is the book we'll be studying here for the next several weeks. So the introduction here is the beginning of the book. And as we said last time, the Nectar Devotion is a summary study of this Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. So Srila Prabhupada has presented it to us in a summary study. It is composed of Sanskrit verses that Srila Prabhupada has put into more narrative form. Kind of like, not kind of, but exactly like he has presented Krishna book, which is a narrative form of the 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. So, and it's explained that this book was written for the purpose of teaching us how to practice Krishna consciousness in such a way that we can develop love of God. So we should understand, and we'll discuss in the Mangalacharana the objective of the book. But just like the Nectar of Instruction was a set of instructions to guide our activities, to make our life successful, so that we can become devotees and we can have happiness. It was a set of practical guide. So this book is going to teach us how to practice Krishna consciousness for the purpose of developing love of God. So there are many ways to practice Krishna consciousness, the bhakti. But not all of them will be effective in developing, awakening our love of God. So Srila Prabhupada is giving us this book as the law book of bhakti, he used to call it. The complete science of bhakti is the subtitle. Right? Because we must follow a process prescribed by Shastra in order to achieve this desired result of love of God. To light a match, there is fire inherent within that matchstick. But that matchstick has to be struck against a surface that will bring out that fire. If you take a matchstick and try to strike it against a piece of glass or an ice cube, it will not light. But if you take that same matchstick and you strike it against a friction surface, it will ignite. So similarly, there is a specific process to ignite this love of God, which is lying dormant within our hearts. And that process, how to actually awaken this dormant love, that is what is being given here in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. This Krishna Prema is dormant, and we are now going to understand how to bring it about, just like we bring out the fire within this matchstick by following a prescribed process. So, Jiva Goswami has commented that the reason Rupa Goswami was so anxious to give this book, it was to satisfy this thirst of those that are self-realized, the thirst for prema bhakti, love of God. To give those who are already fixed in self-realization, have understood the importance of self-realization, so that they can advance to prema bhakti. So that is why we studied Nectar of Instruction first, and now to reach this goal of prema bhakti, how to do that, that is the set of instructions contained within this Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. So the introduction has 3 parts, and we'll cover them over 2 weeks. The first part of the introduction is the Mangalacharana. We'll come back to that. The second part of the introduction is an overview of the contents. And the third part is the definition of pure devotional service. So we'll cover points 1 and 2 today, and next week we'll cover points 3. So the Mangalacharana. Mangalacharana is an auspicious invocation. It is presented at the beginning of every great book to invoke auspiciousness on anything we are going to take part in. And Shastra has defined that a Mangalacharana should have 3 parts to it. The first part is that the Mangalacharana should define the objective of the book. What is the goal of this book? Why was it written? 2, the author will offer obeisances, expressing humility and offering obeisances to Guru and Parampara and Krishna. And the third part is that the author will offer a benediction, a blessing, a gift to the readers. So the Mangalacharana presented by Srila Rupa Goswami contains these 3 things. And so we'll discuss that. And they're contained within the first 6 verses of the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. And so that's what we'll discuss today. And then we'll conclude with a short overview of the contents of this book, the four oceans as they are presented in structure. So verse 1 of Nectar Devotion, Srila Rupa Goswami is establishing the objective in the very first verse. And so the objective of the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu is to bring us to the lotus feet of Krishna. That is how we will awaken our dormant love of Krishna. So he establishes that Krishna, who is the reservoir of all pleasures, is the objective of this book. The point, the destination we are trying to reach. And so that is the objective. It is Krishna, specifically Vrindavan Krishna. We'll come back to that in a second. So in this opening verse, he says, Akila Rasamrita Murtihi. This phrase is very, very significant for us. If we understand this three words, Akila Rasamrita Murtihi, it will give us the strength and ability to follow the instructions and the guidance that is coming to very quickly achieve Krishna Prema. So what is the meaning of Akila Rasamrita Murti? It means that Krishna is the reservoir of all rasas. As we said, the rasa is the sweet taste we receive in any relationship. And that taste is the impetus for us to carry on in that relationship, to continue engaging in that relationship. There must be some impetus, and that is the rasa. And so Krishna is the reservoir of all rasas. And so what is the implication of that? It means that Krishna's ultimate supreme feature is that he is the all-lovable personality. All lovable being the key words here. And personality, we can say. Because all that is relishable in any relationship, it is contained within Krishna. Because he is the source of all rasa. So every single relationship we may have, Krishna is containing that rasa in its full content, unlimited amount. And so thus, it is his all-lovable personality that is his greatest feature. Not his power or his opulence or majesty. And that is why Rupa Goswami is specifically pointing out that this Vrindavan Krishna, this Krishna who captured the hearts of the cowherd boys, of the gopis, of Mother Yashoda and Nanda Baba, this Krishna is the objective of the book. And the implication of this all-lovable personality is very, very significant. If Krishna is the source of all rasa, all of them, then it means by definition, he is our absolute best relationship, our best friend. It means that the sweet taste that we are looking for all throughout the world, it exists fully within Krishna. We have to look nowhere else to achieve anything that we may try to achieve in life. Because he is the source of all rasa. So no club, no friend, no movie, no social group, no one can provide anything of sweetness that isn't contained within Krishna. So he possesses all of them in full, complete. And so then the question is, well, if he possesses them, will he give them to us? Will he reciprocate with us? And that's what makes him all lovable. is because Krishna perfectly reciprocates in bhakti. When we show our love to Krishna, he reciprocates back. But because he possesses all rasas, Krishna himself can fulfill all needs we have. Just like in life, we may have different types of friends. We may have our serious friends. We may have our, joking friends, friends that we really like to do fun things with, because no one themselves can provide all the experiences we want. But Krishna, being Akhila Rasamrita Murtihi, he has everything. And so even the best of relationships we have, there's always some annoyances, quirks that we don't like, something that is not satisfying. But Krishna, being the perfect Supreme Personality of Godhead, containing all of these rasas, is the perfect relationship for us. And if we understand this, then we will endeavor to awaken this relationship that is residing deep within our heart. It's a very profound implication. And thus it's the opening verse of Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, that this rasa is fully situated within Krishna. And knowing this, we can then be inspired to awaken this relationship in Krishna and thus practice bhakti as that will be explained to us in the coming chapters. So he is the only source of all the sweet taste that we desire. And thus he has captivated the hearts of the greatest of all devotees, the Vrindavan devotees. And this is the objective of this Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, to bring us to Krishna and awaken our dormant love of God. Bury this into our hearts, and our progress to Krishna Prema will happen very, very fast. So in verses 2 and 3, now Rupa Goswami is offering obeisances. In verse 2, and I wanted to read the quote, it's a very beautiful offering. He says, although I am the lowest of men and have no knowledge, the inspiration to write transcendental literature about devotional service has been mercifully bestowed upon me. Therefore, I am offering my obeisances at the lotus feet of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who has given me a chance to write these books. Now, there is much significance to us understanding this verse. First, whatever we are going to read, it is coming through Rupa Goswami from Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu personally instructed, as we see in this illustration on the right, for 10 consecutive days about this very topic, the science of devotional service. And Rupa Goswami is now, upon the benediction of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, presenting it to us. He is directly empowered by Krishna himself to present this to us. So what potency is contained within this Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu? Very important. To give us some faith in the power of this scripture. To give us some ability to endure and put forth the effort to study this in great detail. We know it's coming directly from Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. The second very powerful point we see here, and we'll see again, is the humility of Rupa Goswami. He says that I am the lowest of men and have no knowledge. Now, how Chaitanya Mahaprabhu would spend 10 days with someone of such character? After having spent 10 days, how Rupa Goswami can say I am the lowest of men? If we spent 10 days with, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu or Srila Prabhupada or a guru, we would be like on the cloud. Oh, I'm great. Look how wonderful I am. But Rupa Goswami, 10 days being instructed, he considered himself lowest of men and having no knowledge. This humility, even though he personally met the Lord, was given this benediction, remains very strong in his heart. And that is what gives Rupa Goswami the great power and ability to present this. And this should be our mood. Devotees never see themselves powerful, but they are extraordinarily powerful. And why are they powerful? Because they are protected by Krishna. When we are protected by somebody, we can act very bravely, right? Like a child, when he's under the protection of father, can act and speak however they want until the father comes down on them. But they're protected by father. So like that, the devotee, out of great humility, surrendering to Krishna, comes under their protection and makes them very powerful. As we see, Haridas Thakur was protected by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself. Durvasa Muni was protected by the Sudarshana Chakra of Lord Vishnu. Normally, mystics are very powerful. The great sages were able to, kill King Vena. But the sage Durvasa Muni could not kill Ambarish Maharaj. Because Ambarish Maharaj was a devotee king. And the devotees are always protected by Krishna. So, Srila Rupa Goswami is extraordinarily potent and powerful in presenting this information because of the blessings he has received, yet he remains extraordinarily humble. Verse 3, Srila Rupa Goswami offers his obeisances to Guru, to Srila Sanatana Goswami. And is saying the only reason he is doing this book is to please him. We can see that Srila Prabhupada carried on this exact same mood. In the introduction, he offers his obeisances to Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur and Srila Rupa Goswami. Srila Prabhupada's whole mission was to please his spiritual master. That was the purpose of his presence. Everything he did was solely to please his spiritual master. And Rupa Goswami is showing this exact same mood. He says the sole purpose is to please him. As we know, Sanatana Goswami was the elder brother of Rupa Goswami. So from this invocation, we can learn how one presents themselves and how one proceeds in any endeavor. Now verse 4. Srila Rupa Goswami is glorifying the great devotees and acharyas, the sadhus. And he comes up with a very beautiful analogy. This is the ability of a great devotee like Srila Rupa Goswami. They can present things in very impactful and powerful ways. Just like Srila Prabhupada, his purports, his analogies, they are beyond compare. They are so extraordinary. They can take a complicated point and make it very tangible and easy for us to understand. So like this, Rupa Goswami is saying that the devotees are like sharks. Ordinarily, we think of sharks as a scary feature. But he says no. That he's using this analogy to glorify the devotees in three ways. First, that the sharks only live in the oceans. They refuse to reside in the lesser bodies of water like the rivers. And this analogy is that the devotees enjoy, they relish the nectarian ocean of bhakti rasa, of devotional rasa. And they are never attracted to the lesser pleasures, the mundane rasas. They are expert in enjoying that ocean so much that nothing can attract their mind. We'll see in chapter 1, one of the characteristics of prema bhakti is this intense pleasure It's so intense that nothing else can even enter the consciousness. Like that, the sharks don't even think about the rivers, which are analogous to the lesser pleasures. So this is the one great glory. Even the pleasure of liberation does not attract the pure devotee. Liberation is not pleasing to the pure devotee. What is pleasing to the pure devotee is this bhakti rasa, the sweetness in engaging in devotional service. More on that later. 2, that the sharks, they reject the rivers. The devotees, the pure devotees, they reject the impersonalist desire. The impersonalists want to merge into the Brahma Jyotir. And they say that just as the rivers merge into the oceans, the spirit soul in liberation merges into Brahma Jyotir. But they have completely misunderstood the point. They have not separated the path from the practitioner within the path. The river is a path that merges into the ocean. But the individual is like the aquatic within that river. When a fish in a river is following the flow of a river into the ocean, the fish enters the ocean but maintains its individuality. The river may have merged, but the person does not. And the impersonalists suggest that the person merges, but they do not understand we are eternally distinct individuals. So this point of merging in is never attractive to the great devotees. The sharks are never interested in these rivers. They reject them. And finally, the third point is that the pure devotees, they are never caught in the fisherman's net. Why? Because they swim so deep in the ocean. It means they are never caught by the cycle of birth and death. They are eternal, amrita, enjoying the pleasure of bhakti. And so Srila Rupa Goswami is glorifying the greatness of the devotees who are never attracted to the lesser pleasures, who have no taste for the impersonalist merging into the Brahma Jyotir, and who are never trapped by the cycle of birth and death, but are eternally enjoying the rasa, the unlimited ocean of being engaged in devotional service. So this is verse 4. Next, in the final part of the Mangalacharan, we can say, what's in it for us? What do we get? And Srila Rupa Goswami offers us an extraordinary benediction. He says we will not be impacted by the volcanic eruptions. What are the volcanic eruptions? When a volcano erupts in an ocean, there's no harm because it is subdued by so much water. Similarly, those who are presenting volcanic type arguments against devotional service, who are putting forth philosophy about so much nonsense, that will not disturb the reader of the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, because they are immersed in this ocean of nectar. Just like the ocean is not disturbed, the reader will become ocean-like and not disturbed by any counter information. So this specific benediction to those who study this book is that the ocean of eternal pleasure of bhakti is so vast and so large and deep that one who studies this book will never be disturbed by these volcanoes, the misconceptions of the impersonalists or fruitive pursuants, those who want some material enjoyment. So we may be protected by such allurements by studying this Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. So that is the gift we are getting. And in the 6th verse, Srila Rupa Goswami again reiterates his humble position. He describes himself as incompetent. And Srila Prabhupada puts forth a very nice quote that I wanted to read. He says, quote, "That should be the attitude of all preachers of the Krishna consciousness movement, following in the footsteps of Srila Rupa Goswami. We should never think ourselves as great preachers, but should always consider that we are simply instrumental to the previous acharyas. And simply by following in their footsteps, we may be able to do something for the benefit of suffering humanity." It's a very powerful sentence by Srila Prabhupada. He lived this to perfection in his Markina Bhagavata Dharma. How he presents himself. Though he is Bhakti Vedanta, he is presenting himself as incapable of uttering even a single topic of Krishna consciousness. Yet, if Krishna desired, then it may happen. And he says simply, make me dance, make me dance. Make me dance as you like. So Srila Rupa Goswami is showing us this mood, describing himself as completely incompetent. This is an eternal associate of Radha and Krishna, Rupa Manjari. He's an eternal associate in Goloka Vrindavan. Yet he is showing real humility. We do a little bit of service and we get to meditate on how great we are. I've done this, I've done that. But if we internalize this mood in this paragraph of Rupa Goswami, then we can actually accomplish something in this preaching mission. It is by the power of humility that one can preach. And that is what Srila Prabhupada is saying. To benefit suffering humanity. And Srila Prabhupada did this to perfection. So we should become a beggar of the mercy of Krishna, a beggar for the mercy of Guru. A beggar who has not eaten in days, is in such a desperate condition. No source of health and safety. One in that condition begs very intensely. This is how we should beg for Krishna's mercy and Guru's mercy. And we see in Chaitanya Charitamrita, Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami also carries this very humble and begging mood. So we can try to inculcate that in our own consciousness. And Srila Rupa Goswami says that his eagerness to present this Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, it stems from his desire to please the devotees. So he blesses whoever reads this book to achieve this transcendental pleasure, this Bhakti Rasa. So you can see his mood of humility, his mood of desiring to serve the devotees, to serve his Guru. And that's the 6 verses of the Mangalacharan contained within the introduction of this Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. Finally, let's discuss the structure of the Nectar of Devotion. So there's broken up into 4 oceans. We start in the Eastern Ocean, and then we go to the Southern Ocean, then to the Western Ocean, and then the Northern Ocean. So the book is broken up into 4 parts. We'll be studying the first 19 chapters, which comprise of the Eastern Ocean. So within the ocean, there are waves. So like that, the Eastern Ocean is broken up into 4 waves. The first wave we'll be discussing starting 2 weeks from now, which is chapter 1. And this is an overview of devotional service. Here, Rupa Goswami will present to us the 3 stages of bhakti. We know bhakti in broad terms, and now he's going to break it down into sadhana bhakti, bhava bhakti, and ultimately prema bhakti. And he's going to describe that the practitioner of bhakti is awarded 2 characteristics at each stage. In sadhana bhakti, there are 2 characteristics awarded, kleshagni and subhadha. In bhava bhakti, there are 2 more, 2 added characteristics. This moksha laghu ticket and this intense happiness. And then in prema bhakti, 2 more. So there are 2 characteristics. So this will be discussed in the first wave, an overview of the 3 stages of devotional service. In the second wave, we are going to then dive deep from chapters 2 to 16. We'll be discussing how to perform devotional service in practice. This is this Vaidhi Sadhana Bhakti and Raganuga Sadhana Bhakti. This first stage of devotional service will discuss how to practice Sadhana Bhakti. Then in the third wave, we'll understand devotional service in ecstasy. This is Bhava Bhakti. This will be chapter 17 and 18. What is Bhava Bhakti? What are the characteristics of Bhava Bhakti? How to bring it out? That will be discussed. And finally, in the fourth wave, we will discuss devotional service in love of God, love of Krishna, Krishna Prema. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu Namo Mahavadanaya Krishna Prema Pradayate came to give us Krishna Prema. So we will understand what is Krishna Prema. How do we recognize it? And of course, how it awakens within the heart. What happens? What Shaktis actually enter the heart to make Krishna Prema available? So that's what we'll discuss in the fourth wave, that is chapter 19. So again, in this little seminar study, we'll be studying the Eastern Ocean. And it's very, very sweet. It is sets up to then study the other 3 oceans and the more intricate understanding of the different rasas of devotional service. So this is the first part of the introduction. And then next week, we'll begin to discuss this foundational verse, the seed verse of the entire Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, this Anyabhilashita Shunyam Yana Karmari Navratam Anukulyena Krishna Anushilanam Bhaktir Uttama. This Uttama Bhakti, pure devotional service. That is what we'll discuss next week. So I'll pause here. Any questions, discussion, comments?
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Yes.
Thank you for the nice explanation for the introduction. So in the verse 5, I missed to catch this explanation about the devotees not impacted by some kind of arguments. That particular word you used as volcanic or something. What's that word?
Yeah. So in verse 5, Rupa Goswami is making the example of volcanic eruptions in an ocean do not disturb the ocean. So that volcanic eruption he's comparing to these arguments around impersonalist philosophy, fruitive philosophy, different things. Those will not disturb one who is in the practice of bhakti if they have studied this Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. So their path of devotional service will remain fixed. That is the benediction that Rupa Goswami is explaining. Because as we know, particularly in this age of Kali, there's so much philosophy out there, and in fact, so much bogus philosophy. There's danger of being disturbed in our consciousness if we don't have protection. So Rupa Goswami is offering us that protection by taking to the study of this Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. So he then, again, just to take back to the analogy, just as the volcanoes in the ocean do not disturb the ocean, whatever these arguments we may come across, they won't disturb our consciousness. That is the benediction he is offering to us.
Okay.
Thank you, Prabhuji, for your question. Any other comments or questions?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dharma Pranam, all glories to Srila Prabhupada and Guru Maharaj. Thank you for such a beautiful lecture, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
I had a question regarding the offering of the obeisances. So Rupa Goswami here is offering obeisances also to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Sanatana Goswami. And could we say that he is also offering obeisances to Krishna too? Like, does that be also included? Or is it only Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Sanatana Goswami?
Well, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is Krishna himself. So, so we can say he is offering his obeisances to Krishna directly, because Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is Krishna himself. So yes, we can understand that. And Srila Prabhupada offers his obeisances to Bhakti Siddhanta, so his guru, and Rupa Goswami in the introduction. Okay. Thank you. Yes. Any other?
And with respect to the offering to the obeisances, I have a little clarification here because Rupa Goswami is elder of all other Goswamis, right? He is the lead for all Goswami.
He is the lead, but he is the younger brother of Sanatana Goswami. And we are.
He is the younger brother of Sanatana Goswami.
He is the younger brother of Sanatana Goswami, and we are followers of Rupa Goswami, who we consider to be the leader of the 6 Goswamis. But Rupa Goswami does not consider himself to be the leader of the 6 Goswamis. He considers him to be the disciple of his guru, Sanatana Goswami.
Okay, but being a disciple of Sanatana Goswami, we consider Rupa Goswami as the leader of all Goswami, including Sanatana.
That's correct.
Thank you.
But we don't make distinctions in our heart. Someone is higher, someone is lower, like that. But we are following Rupa Goswami. We are Rupa Nugas. Our Guru Parampara is coming through the line of Rupa Goswami. So we're also following Sanatana Goswami, because Rupa Goswami was following Sanatana Goswami. So
yes, Prabhu, I understand.
So we shouldn't divide in our heart that way. But so we're following both.
Okay, thank you.
Yes,
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Prabhuji, so in the beginning you talked about Mangalacharan invoking auspiciousness and and then I was just trying to understand how is it connected to this particular thing that we discussed today.
The invoking
Mangalacharan, you say
the meaning of Mangalacharan is to invoke auspiciousness. It is the beginning.
But I was trying to wonder how is it connected today's topic?
So because you invoke auspiciousness, blessings, by doing 3 things in a Mangalacharan, right? And so those 3 things is what Rupa Goswami has presented in what we discussed, that you establish the objective of the book, you offer your obeisances, and you offer the benedictions. So that is how you actually begin and invoke this auspiciousness of any kind of spiritual practice. And you'll see this in all books. Chaitanya Charitamrita has a Mangalacharan like that. You'll see this in all of our Shastra. So that is the process to invoke auspiciousness.
So by auspiciousness, we will be able to offer obeisances and then offer benedictions and establish the objectives.
But I would say it a little bit differently. By doing those 3 things, you are invoking auspiciousness.
Okay, it's the other way around. Okay.
Correct.
Okay. Another thing, Prabhu, I wanted to ask is you talked about Akhila Rasamrita Murti, right? No?
Yes.
So that, I mean, in a nutshell, it means like Krishna is a lovable personality.
Yeah, more precisely, it means that he is the source of all rasa, pleasure. He's a source of all pleasure, which makes him the all lovable personality, because in any relationship, we are looking for rasa. That is how we get love. So, him being the source of all pleasure is what then makes him the all lovable. It makes him universally loved. Because it is not that, okay, well, I like this feature and you like that feature, right? Like, I like this car and you like that car. But Krishna, why he's universally loved by all, is because whatever there is to like, whatever there is to taste sweet, that rasa, he possesses. So him being the possessor of all rasas is what makes him all lovable. That is the connection between the two.
Okay. So what does that Murti here means, Prabhu? Is that the personality or
the personality? It's a person. It's not an impersonal.
Okay, so by mentioning Murti, we are emphasizing on like not impersonalistic.
Yeah, because bhakti cannot exist between person. We are a person and an impersonalist. You cannot have bhakti. You cannot render loving service to something that doesn't exist, that's impersonal. You can render service, love, to someone. And so Krishna is that someone, that supreme person who possesses all rasas that attract our consciousness. And the conclusion of unknowing this is that anything we love in this world, we should remember, Krishna has that feature in full. If I love, some particular feature of something or someone, remember, Krishna has that feature in full. And so, if I enjoying my rasa with somebody, imagine then what my enjoying in rasa with Krishna will be. Because he has that feature in full. And he gives it freely. Because he's so merciful. Right? So that's why I said in the opening, if we understand this Akhila Rasamrita Murti, it will inspire us to go deep into bhakti. Because we want to exchange. Nothing else will enter our... Okay, I'm enjoying this activity, that activity. But wait a minute, that enjoyment exists in complete form in Krishna. So I don't have to go anywhere else. Then I become single-minded, single-purposed. And that is the definition of pure devotional service. That I'm only doing bhakti, nothing else. Just like a brick of gold. We say it's pure gold when it has nothing else in it. So understanding this principal point, Krishna being the source of all pleasures, will make it easier for us to look exclusively to Krishna. A little bit more than you had asked, but just wanted to re-emphasize that point.
That's good, Prabhu. Thank you much. Prabhuji, I'm going to ask a similar question, Sanjay, Prabhu. The volcanic eruption, right, Prabhu? So, even if there is a volcano happening in the sea, you're saying the lives of sea will not be affected. Like
the ocean is not affected. The ocean does not move. It's so vast. The ocean is so large that the ocean continues being an ocean.
So that's what I was trying to understand. Like, you also mentioned that only on the for example, the shark analogy, because they are deep in the ocean.
Separate point. Separate point. He's not carrying on that same analogy. Because
Okay.
the shark would be affected, of course.
Okay.
So the point is that the ocean is undisturbed. Again, these are illustrative points. So we don't want to, try to overanalyze. The point is the ocean is so vast that the ocean is undisturbed. Like that, the reader becomes so immersed in bhakti that anything else becomes background noise. It doesn't even register because there's such a vast pleasure in what they are doing. So that's the benediction that's being offered.
Okay.
It's not speaking about the aquatics within the ocean being disturbed or not by the volcano. A little bit, it's different analogy. Though it sounds similar because they're both related to the ocean.
Okay. Thank you.
Hare Krishna. So, Sham, Hare Prabhu, you have a question? It says I have a question, but I'm not.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Hare Krishna, can you hear me, Prabhuji?
Yeah, now I can hear you. Yes.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Prabhuji, the Nectar of Instruction, we had a study guide, right? Do we have a study guide for this, the Nectar of Devotion? Because I was looking, we couldn't find anything.
This is the study guide.
Or the book itself?
Ways of Devotion.
Oh,
I've been sending the messages. You all need to buy this. If you don't have it, there's no hope to understand this Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu.
that's what's happening, Prabhuji. We are reading it so complicated that we are. So we have to buy that. Do we have the book in the library in our gift shop, Prabhuji?
No. No, but you ordered online. I put the message 3 or 4 times in the WhatsApp group where to buy it.
Okay.
So,
I'll just take it.
if
Prabhu, we are trying to buy, but saying there's no stock available. So my credit card got deducted, and after that they gave back my money, saying that no books available.
oh boy.
Somehow I found in online PDF. Well, luckily I got in PDF,
Okay.
so I can share the link.
Oh, please share that link, Prabhuji.
Okay.
Please share that link, Prabhuji.
Sure. Okay.
In Amazon, I think in Amazon it is available, probably.
Amazon, it's costly, Prabhu, $90.
90.
It is $20 only.
Oh, okay.